Who Really Controls the Internet by Asmongold.
Hi, today I want to talk to you all about wokeness and where I think it came from.
Oh.
So, a lot of people don't really understand how all these things came together and how we experience...
Okay, guys, I'm also old internet, so I'm really interested to hear what he says here.
Probably the highest and the biggest level of censorship that at least I've experienced in my lifetime between the years of, I would say, 2014 and 2024. Now, what I find to be the most ironic about this is that the main thesis of what I'm going to be talking about is the way that you created the unholy matrimony, the unholy trinity between ideologically captured media, bad faith capitalism, and mentally ill activism. And these things put together all created an apparatus that I want to construct and then deconstruct and talk to you all about how it actually maintained power and how it manifested and projected that power throughout the entire internet. So fundamentally, what I find to be the most ironic about all of this is that the main people that are the biggest social justice warriors, the biggest woke people, the people that care so much about all of these different issues, almost every single one of them hate capitalism.
They hate They hate capitalism? Yeah, because capitalism bad because rich people. Oh, you're so rich, you have so much money. Why don't you give it to other people? Like, what a fucking entitled... Like, am I the... Guys, how fucking entitled is that? They're mad. They're like, I'm mad because you make a lot of stuff. You should give it to me. Like, it's pathetic. It's just, it's so sad. It's so pathetic.
But in an ironic sense, none of their ideology would have ever been tolerated by anybody if capitalism wasn't there that was insulating it from criticism. And I want to talk about why that happened. So we're going to go back. We're going to go way back to 2010 to 2014.
Ooh,
Depends
all right.
on how you want to define it.
I know this
that's
era
where I would
quite
want to start
well.
at the beginning. So that's whenever you started seeing terms of service on websites. That's whenever you started seeing words that you couldn't say.
Ooh,
that's whenever, instead of telling people, if you don't like it, don't look at it, instead of that, you decided to...
Dude, right before that was the fucking golden era, dude, because there were no normies on the internet. There were, well, the only normies were business normies. There weren't like real normies on the internet. It was like all nerds. It was like total nerd summer, dude. Like it was peak. It was so peak.
Instead, tell people if you don't like it, then nobody can look at it. Why did these things change? What happened? Why was it that a place like Reddit, for example, that was the open bastion of free speech, suddenly changed and then allowed itself to be completely colonized by a small manufactured minority of people and a manufactured consensus of ideas that is really not...
You having money basically means saying I'm poor and that's offensive. You know, my favorite thing is I love getting money and then immediately using it for compute. Honestly, I should show it to all the people on X. I should just be like, wow, I used so much money today on compute. And I should just keep posting that just to like make them mad. It'd be actually amazing.
Representative of their user base or really of anybody in real life either. How did this happen? And I'll tell you exactly how it happened. It's actually very simple. It happened because of money. So what happened between 2010 and 2014? You started getting a lot of
compute
ads.
like AI. Spend money on compute, post about it, get more money from posting, repeat. Dude, true. So true.
You started getting a lot of advertisements. You started getting a lot of, ways that these companies and these websites were basically making money. And if you look at this on the stock market for any of these different companies, this is very clearly the growth period of their business. This is whenever they started really making a lot of money. Because a lot of people falsely attribute the woke era to something that was happening during COVID, which I think was the fever pitch, but it wasn't the entire disease.
Yeah, it was before
The disease actually started between 2010 and 2014.
Yeah, it happened like kind of in the middle, and it was like kind of around the Tumblr era, like around that like the Tumblr like containment thing when like Tumblr broke containment, but DeviantArt as well. It was like kind of on like both of those, like kind of where it started. It was definitely before the COVID era, like 100% before the COVID era. It was already like kind of it was ramping up at that point.
And it was manifested by advertising and then companies wanting to maintain that advertising money in order to maintain the to maintain the advertisements to continue making more money. So what happened is
the problem, right, is like this is the problem. Is like a couple of these woke people, they brigaded together to like complain basically to companies. This is what I think happened, is that they complained to companies trying to cancel people. This is, you hear cancel culture, right? They did that to basically get those companies to be like, well, I don't want to deal with this. And so then they set up like, their TOS, and then they were like, well, we can't have our video talking about these things because look, it's making these people mad. This small subset of people, because people don't really complain that much, to be honest. Like, not that many people do. Even when people have like issues with a company, they don't, there's a lot of people that will just be like, okay, well, this isn't bad enough to complain about. It's only Karens that complain, right? So when you have like, and who has more Karens? These woke people have way more Karens, right? So you have them complaining, which is causing companies to think that there's far more complaints than normal, which makes them have to act on it for their bottom line because they care about money. And then they're like, well, I guess we can't have our ads on this video because that would make them angry and they're going to boycott us, right? And they always make boycotts look bigger than they are. They fluff them up and stuff.
You had these activists and people that are working inside of media companies. And then
sorry, I know I'm pausing it. You want to know what this is sort of like? If you're one of these, like willingly, I mean what I'm going to say wholeheartedly, even if it upsets you. It's like these people that have like picky eating. And like the biggest example of it is vegans, right? So like the problem is like a vegan goes to a party, right? You have like a party and you're like, okay, oh yeah, we're going to have a get together. We're going to have a get together and we're going to have dinner together. And then you have a person who's a vegan and the vegan person goes in, they go, well, actually, I'm a vegan though. I can't really eat any meat. And so what happens is everyone goes, oh, fuck. What do we have? I mean, we could get like tofurkey. Oh, fuck. And then you're like, oh, fuck, we gotta buy a tofurkey. It's like, yeah, but like a tofurkey is like pretty fucking big, right? So it's like, I guess everybody's eating tofurkey. It's like, but mashed potatoes have mashed potatoes. But the mashed potatoes has butter in it, and that's from cows, and they're vegan, so they don't even want butter, so we can't have that, right? So now your dinner is like mashed potatoes, gluten-free with like coconut milk, and like it's just fucking shit. You know what I mean? And then it's like, now it's like you're eating tofu instead of a roast, right? Like you would have had like a roast chicken, roast turkey, a fucking brisket, prime rib, ribs. Now you're having fucking tofu steaks, right? And like, because this one person comes in there like, oh, actually, I only eat this. So it makes everybody else fucking cater to them, which makes everyone else's experience worse. And the thing is like, you can say like, well, just don't cater to them, right? Yeah, but see, most people aren't like that. Most people want to be agreeable, right? Like a lot of humanity doesn't really want conflict. So they're like, okay, well, let's just not. And the thing is like, do you really want to have like the person with their, right? They're going to have their sad tofu in the corner and they're going to be like staring you daggers the whole time. Like, everyone looks like they're having such a good time. Eats fucking tofu block. Oh, I wish I could have these mashed potatoes, but then they have butter in them. And they're going to say it. Right? And it's like, damn it, fuck.
Are running smear campaigns. They're talking about how, this website is allowing, racism or dangerous language or X or Y thing. And we're not even talking about the COVID era, by the way. Keep this in mind. This is back in the, Gamergate and even pre-Gamergate era. This is when these things were happening. So what really was going on is that they kept making articles and they kept saying that like, oh, this website is allowing X, Y, and Z content and it's horrible that this is happening. Then there was a harassment and a advocacy campaign that pushed the advertisers that were advertising on the website.
Neko Health says the funny thing is people with actual allergies will always bring their own food. Yeah, that's been usually with it.
Website that was basically egged on by these ideologically captured media apparatuses. They're always like ultra picky too. It's always like vegan. It's like vegan, no food dyes, organic, gluten-free. It's like always like some fucking godforsaken combo like that. It's like, fuck, man. Individuals too.
Damn it!
To put pressure on these companies, because companies, you have to admit, you have to understand, are they're not moral, they're not immoral.
Because the sad thing is, right, sorry, I know I'm pausing a lot, but the sad thing is, honestly, a lot of these things can be good. Like the tofu can be good, the broccoli can be good, right? But like the potatoes can be good, right? That needs like a little bit of that like butter or a little bit of that duck fat, you know what I mean? Like, it makes it all better, right? Like a little bit of it.
they're amoral. If Hitler won World War II, most of these companies would be selling swastikas. And it's important to always remember that. When a company thinks that your social cause or your social opinion is the correct social opinion, the odds are it's because they think they can make money off of you if they tell you that. That's the only reason. Why do you think they all care about Pride? Well, it's because they can sell something with a rainbow on it. So anyway, these companies care about money. And so what happened is that the media apparatus created and manufactured a false consensus that everybody was upset and angry about these types of behaviors, right? Everybody was upset about this. People were super mad. And now these companies have to take action. They have to do something. They have to act. And this is what's happening also, by the way, it happened inside of mainstream media as well. You saw different shows that were, pushing ideologies that were not necessarily what people accepted in terms of, culturally acceptable. And I think that really, if you take a step back, think about the term brand friendly.
Guys, this might be a little bit of ADD, but why do cherry flavored things not taste like cherry?
Term brand friendly. What does brand friendly almost always mean? That means at least something that is either agnostic to politics or leftist leaning. And I think that really kind of gives away the game, doesn't it? Because fundamentally, every single one of these companies always kowtows to this group of people. Now, why did they do that? Is it because they're the majority? Well, if Donald Trump won the election, it seems like that's not the case.
Yeah.
So why actually do they get listened to?
It's the vegan thing. It's because, let's just please these people and then everyone else will be fine.
Extremely simple. It's because these people are very good at institutional capture, and they've done an incredibly good job at it. Whether it's businesses, whether it's HR departments, whether it's media companies, or whether it's other forms of NGOs, or just different media apparatuses that are third party that exist on the internet, or even individuals that are just politically minded that want to advocate for something. And I think that they're very strategic and they're very effective, and they have been. And it took a long time for people to identify this and then begin to develop countermeasures like what we have now. So anyway, all of these people have basically created this entire permission structure around language. And the permission structure around language enabled people to accept that certain things were just simply not allowed to be said. And this manufactured the ideology of being brand friendly. This could not have happened without mainstream big companies enforcing this ideology by the rule of money. If there was no money involved in any of these companies, then none of these companies would have changed. You used to be able to say the N-word on Twitch. You used to be able to say the F-word on Twitch. Do you want to know what changed? Advertisers changed. What do you think the probability is that every single company suddenly grew a conscience and wanted to make all of these different slurs against the rules at, ironically, the same time that they all got a bunch of money for advertising? What do you think the odds of that are? Well, I'd say what the odds are. It's zero. They're doing it for the advertising money. That's always what they were doing it for. So why is it that these companies are listening to these people? Well, this is the two-part thing of identity capture and just basically capture in general. So you have the media companies that have been taken over by these people who want to weaponize the media companies' influence in order to push their ideology. This is relatively obvious. I think that we all know this is what happens. But then the second thing is that people that work inside of the actual companies themselves also have some of these ideologies, and they create an alarmism around not making these people happy. Now, I think that you've started to realize that usually whenever these people are upset, it's not a boycott, it's a goycott. Nobody cares, it doesn't matter,
Wait, what?
And everybody that's angry...
Wait, what?
Now, I think that you've started to realize that usually whenever these people are upset, it's not a boycott, it's a goycott. Nobody cares, it doesn't matter, and everybody that's angry and upset about it, there's really no effect that really has. So if you upset these people, you saw this with how many video games where it's like, okay, well, we're gonna own the chuds, and then nobody owns the game. And
yeah,
so
true.
That's really not a good way. Not a good way to keep your job, is it? Sure seems that way. Look at Bungie.
Yep.
So anyway, what happens is that people inside of, HR departments and other types of...
I'm just at the point now where they're like, oh my God, you didn't buy our game because you're a fascist. And I'm just like, yes. You didn't buy our game because you're homophobic. Yes. That's how I feel now. Anytime they call me something, like, you're a Nazi. Yeah.
positions at these companies use those positions in order to
Every time
manufacture
now, man.
alarmism around the manufactured consensus. And I apologize, I'm using these words all the time, but
I'm
I
just
just want
so
to make
over
sure that I
it.
make it
Everything
completely
they say
clear
is
that none of
meaningless.
this was organic and none of this was done because people wanted it. Nobody actually wanted any of this. This was forced on people, and it was done so by the unholy matrimony between mentally ill advertisers, or sorry, well, there's that too, mentally ill activists and cynical advertisers that are trying to cater to the lowest common denominator of capitalism.
That's what I meant. The lowest. They're like they're so captured by like random people that don't matter, right? And then they're gonna buy their shit anyway, which is like hilarious because they don't have any money. What the fuck?
And failing massively, by the way. You can see that with Bud Light. So anyway, all of this has happened. These companies now are then
These people, they're like, oh my god, like I'm not gonna support the UFC anymore. Like, what the fuck? What? Get the fuck out of here. What do you mean? Like, you were gonna watch the UFC anyway.
taking away partnerships, they're taking away advertising, and they're changing the ways that they want their stuff broadcast and their stuff advertised. And that causes these companies to create a culture around basically playing it safe. They don't want to take any risks. They want to make sure that nobody does anything wrong. And they also don't want to attract the negative attention to the media class.
You want to know the answer to this, guys? AI is going to blow all of these people up. Again, because their only advantage is that they have lots of resources and big company, and them now having to answer to like the individual person with AI that could actually make a lot of the stuff that they're doing. And like they're devoid of creativity. All they have is the fact that they have big teams and big money. And it's like they're so cooked. It's almost over for them. It's so close.
And to the activist class, because if you attract negative attention from them by not doing what they want, then they manufacture conspiracies, they try to create negative sentiment about you, and then they call you like nowadays.
Doc Albert said you're right. We're gonna win completely. That's why they hate AI so much, because AI only buffs people who are creative. This is the funny thing is they say that like, oh, AI is like what do you mean AI is not creative at all, right? It's like, it's hilarious because only creative people can utilize AI, because you have to have creative solutions and creative ideas, and like you have to have like plans that like where you want to make something, basically, right? So if like they can't do that, then they can't use AI. It's impossible. So like, yeah, so they're just gonna lose.
Right? I mean, how many people are being called a Nazi? It's like, oh yeah, I'm not seeing your point of view. I guess I'm a Nazi now, right? That's the way that the world works. And fundamentally, I think this was very effective. Now, anybody that plays Classic WoW knows that if you cast the crowd control on an opponent too many times, it begins to have what you would call diminishing returns. And I think at this point, it's basically just on the immunity stage.
It's over, yeah.
But for many, many years, this was an effective way of shutting down conversation. Sexist, racist, misogynist, like Nazi,
the buff
right,
is it's like on immunity now. Yeah,
were used as buzzwords in order to allow that media class to pressure the advertising and the business class, to pressure the social media class, to pressure everybody else to adhere to their ideology and their language. And that's exactly how it happened. And I think that let's talk about...
Yeah, because we were in Bard land, right? So it went like this. Okay. History of the world. Warrior, best build. Then cleric became best build. And then it kept going. And then it was like, and then, society kept progressing. And then it went bard, best build, right? So like if the information era, computers, entertainment, Hollywood, bard became the best build. And now we're in rogue best build. Where's the lie? Rogue best build right now. I'm just saying, rogue best build right now. And now we're like entering wizard best build, which is like the best. Wizard best build. That's where I'm at right now. It's my turn, our artificer wizard best build.
Social media class to pressure everybody else to adhere to their ideology and their language. And that's exactly how it happened. And I think that let's talk about...
Sorry, let me explain, right? So warrior best build, strength is what mattered. You take over other people with strength, and you can use strength for everything, right? And it was the most OP build back in the day. And then you start to hit like kind of like after that, like civilizational eras. Then clerics became the best build, because you had like philosophers and like clergy, like religious people, philosophers, theologians, like those people became like best build, right? And then after that, you had the era. There was like a slight era of wizard best build, but it was kind of like not really that much. And that was like kind of like the science like kind of era, like with nuclear energy and all of that stuff, right? And then you went into bard best build because charisma became the most important stat. Again, like swaying people's minds, Hollywood being famous, right? This is like this is the content creator era, right? Where bard became best build, right? And the bard being best build is, I mean, still pretty strong. Like bard is still good build, but we're like rolling into like rogue best build now, where it's like you just steal from other people and scam people, and that's like how you get away with doing nothing. Do nothing, like scam the government for money. Live off of other people's money. Like rogue is becoming really good build, and then now that AI is out, it's becoming wizard best build, where it's like the people that like can imagine like crazy things are becoming like they're becoming the good build.
It's just kind of got worse and worse and worse and worse. And the reason why it got worse and worse and worse is actually something that's very much a parallel of what's happening with the Democratic Party right now. The Democratic
Rogue was
Party
always
is
the
going
best
through
build. No, that's not true, because if you like rogued back in the day, they just beat your ass up. Like if you rogued, you'd get your ass beat and then you get kicked out of the town, and then you would go starve in the winter. So it wasn't really like the best build. Like that's not to say like you couldn't be a rogue. You could always be a rogue. You could always be a wizard. You could always be like, I'm saying like the meta. This is like the meta build, right? Wizard is getting huge buffs in like this update, right? This expansion. The AI expansion is huge for wizard builds.
I would say it's basically a civil war. This is kind of similar to the Tea Party happening in like the late 2000s and maybe the early 2010s in the Republican Party, but I would view this to be slightly different because it's much more existential. You had people that were not really involved in any of these things because they cared about them. They were involved in these things because it made them feel good. And this is something that's becoming more and more obvious, is that many of these companies and many of these...
The thief class got buffed, but only for some races? It's because you needed like a certain racial trait, that's why. Only certain races have like this specific racial trait that like lets you exploit the build. That's why the build is pretty bad for like most, like all the common races is pretty bad, but like like you could certain races can exploit it. Yeah.
People are not really adopting these social causes out of any sort of like real genuine intention or real genuine care. They're adopting social...
Dude, they've been nerfing white people for like so many patches. It's been like 100 years of patches nerfing white people.
Social causes as social accessories. They're using their pride flags, their Palestine flags, and their trans flags, or like their coexist bumper stickers. They're not using these as actual pieces of advocacy. They're using them as social accessories so they can signal to other people that they're a good person. So what the point of that is that there actually is no real kind of end goal. There's no ideology, that there's no light at the end of this tunnel. There's no North Star that these people are working towards. And that's the reason why the ideology continues to self-radicalize. It's because it was never about ever doing something and achieving something and meeting a goal. It was manufacturing consent, enforcing that consent and that permission structure on the entire population, and then feeling like a good person for doing it. Yeah. And that's the most important thing. It's not because of the people. It's not because of the people they're trying to help. It's because the main person they want to help is themselves, and they want to help themselves feel better. That's true. And that's the reason why it's become more and more radical. And I think that it was generally tolerable.
There's a benefit to doing it. So obviously, like the incentive, right?
2014 to 2019. But COVID really sent it into a, pun intended, a fever pitch, right? And it really got a lot worse. And the reason why I think it got a lot worse is actually very simply because you had everybody staying inside, companies are spending infinitely more money, and I think obviously you had social unrest and everything else. And what happened is that these people just continued to self-radicalize, and because so many people were being involved and basically swept up in the movement, it accelerated accelerated the progression of the movement to the point where you couldn't even say that there were two genders anymore. And I think this happened, the reason why it stopped actually wasn't that people got tired of it, it's because one person got tired of it, and that person was Elon Musk. I do think that
Dude, that was so clutch. Guys, you have no idea. We would be living in a completely different world if like Elon didn't fucking like literal like the best like one of the best players in the game like just went beast mode, man.
A timeline shift when Elon Musk bought Twitter. I think that if Elon Musk had not bought Twitter, we would probably still be living with the COVID era censorship.
You know what's funny? Do you remember when Elon first bought Twitter? And all of the lefties were making fun of him. They were like, "Oh, you spent all this money for nothing. Ha ha ha. You spent all this money, you got nothing." They were like laughing their asses off. You fucking moron. Oh my god, dude.
And it would probably be continuing to get worse and worse and worse because those people still controlled all the levers of power. They may be stupid, they may be delusional, they may be selfish, but they are very organized, and they also do have a decent understanding of political theory and at least institutional capture to the extent that they can apply it and use it to their advantage. And I think that's commendable. I just wish they would do it to something that wasn't destructive. So the point that I'm making is that COVID, I think, accelerated all of it. Elon Musk buying Twitter was like a crack in the dam that unlocked basically everybody's freedom of speech. And you went from not being able to say that there were two genders to only talking about which race is the best race. And that's a really big change. The Overton window didn't shift. The entire building got bulldozed, and you built it somewhere else. So in the entire world, I think this was probably the biggest, or internet world, this was the biggest shift in terms of, like ideology, in terms of behavior and everything, is when Elon Musk ended up buying Twitter. So he buys Twitter, everybody can say whatever they want, and then also, at that point, Elon said, well, I don't need advertising, and that's the reason why Twitter, I think, has freedom of speech. The more that these companies allow advertising, the less freedom of speech that they will be allowed. And you could say that that's fair because companies don't want to deal with this kind of stuff and they want to be amoral. I understand that, but I think that we should also acknowledge that the genesis of all of this censorship is not simply social justice, it's actually just making money. And if it wasn't for capitalism, you'd still have people spamming the N-word all the time. And how do I know that? Well, it's because every single website that isn't run based off of advertising and doesn't, depend on it, like 4chan, Twitter, or Rumble, for example, all of these places have people saying all kinds of crazy things. So the moment that you give people a mask, they'll show you their true face.
That's actually so true, right? Like, because if you think about it, right, it's like, oh, you can't say that. You can't say that word. You can't watch that video. You can't talk about that topic, right? It's always because you can't make people mad, right? You can't make the platform mad because they'll deplatform you.
And I think that's also the reason why they want to use ways to identify people. This is why doxing is so effective. Doxing is also another effective way of doing things, and the reason why doxing is so effective is because doxing allows people to apply those consequences that they would previously apply to companies, to social media websites, which was a lot harder for them to do. Now all they have to do is achieve it with one individual person.
Yeah.
And you see this also, the reversal of this with, for example, Charlie Kirk. You see people talking about like, oh, I'm glad Charlie Kirk died, and then they get fired from their job, and these people were saying like, well, this isn't fair. I don't agree with this. Well, that's too bad. You shouldn't have been doing it for the last 10 years.
That's true.
Really what I think has happened is that now you have an environment where freedom of speech is more or less completely tolerated. And on top of it being completely tolerated, you have a shifting of the window of what is acceptable thought, the Overton window, that is...
The other thing, though, I will have to say, though, is this has also escalated their desperation, which is really kind of crystallized around Charlie Kirk being killed, right? The less people care about their cancel shit, the more they're going to have to actually hurt people in order to get their way. I don't think it's over. I think it's just going to get a lot more violent, to be honest.
Happening faster and faster and faster. I think there's a force multiplier with this. And fundamentally, I wanted to let everybody understand and help everybody understand how these media companies and these activists are pressuring these companies to pressure other companies, news websites, social media websites, and everything else in between into making it to where you're not able to have freedom of speech. That is the main reason why
We've
it's
talked
happening.
about pre-care so
You're
much
not
randomly.
losing your freedom of speech because of activists directly. You're losing it because of advertisers directly and activists indirectly that are working through as a tertiary source actually the media apparatus that they have ideologically captured. Whether this is video games journalism, whether it's real journalism, whether it's, well, unfortunately, basically any type of media that's mainstream to begin with. And you're starting to see this receding. And I think it's almost pretty much gone. I think that you're going to need probably 5 more years of cultural institutional change. And in terms of the very ingrained things like education, corporate environment, corporate policy, and let's not even get into the legal system in which these ideologies are codified into law, it will take a while to actually undo all of this, but we're very well on the path to that. And I wanted to show people kind of this cause and effect because I think that a lot of people haven't really necessarily looked at it, and they're facing they're focusing their anger at these, like weird social justice warriors on the internet. And I think that go ahead, be my guest, right? Do whatever you want to do. But those people are not fundamentally the ones that are making this happen. The ones that are fundamentally making it happen are the companies that are putting pressure on the websites, on the businesses.
That is true,
everything
yeah.
in order to
So it's like
fulfill
if the companies didn't care, then they would have no power, basically, which is true. And this is why, by the way, Asmond is 100% right here, and it's the reason why, for instance, right, when the thing happened with Celestium, right, where with the plushie, we immediately were like, we will help you do that. When they took down the contest, like the AI contest, we immediately said we will do that, right? Or when certain companies are trying to kind of bully us out, we tell them we will do everything in our power to destroy you. Right. And the reason why we say things like that is because if they enforce on behalf of the kind of woke people, they are a tool of them and they must be destroyed. And, what I mean by destroyed is outcompeted, boycotted, replaced, basically. Right. Like we have to make our own to even at our own personal cost, if we can, we have to go out of our way to deal as much financial damage to them to make it not free. Right. Because if it's free, then why wouldn't they do it? Right. Like if they can have benefits, if they can have all the benefits, if they can have all of the benefits and none of the negatives, then why wouldn't they do it? Right. So you have to make it costly for them as well. And that's why I try to as much as I can to try to support stuff on our side so that we can stick it to them, right?
Conform.
Thank you, James, for the gift sub to Maria, by the way. Thank you.
The ones that are fundamentally making it happen are the companies that are putting pressure on the websites, on the businesses, everything in order to fulfill and conform to their ideology. And I do believe this is a situation that's kind of like nuclear weapons, for example. You cannot afford to not play the game. I think that if you want to control and you want to not have institutional capture, you have to engage in institutional capture. There is not a world where this weapon and this tool is not used. There's only a weapon where it's either you using it or it being used against you.
And that's how I feel, by the way, about PSYOP. Right. Well, I realized a couple of months ago that our enemy uses psychological warfare and we have to use it as well. Right. Which is why I started making those idol videos. Right. Because it's I've realized that idol stuff, people really like it. So I'm going to use that power to psyop people back, basically.
And so my advocacy and my ask for everybody is that when you see people that are pushing for this kind of ideology, especially whenever they're doing it through vectors of commercial aspects, like, for example, advertising, you have to push back 10 times as hard. Because if these commercial places realize that these things are losing money...
By the way, and this is why it's so funny, because people get people will say that my stuff is crass and they'll get mad at me over it, and I'm just kind of let me fight my shadow war, you go fight your proper war, right? You go fight your proper war, I'll leave you alone. I'll go cloak and dagger in the back lines and you leave me alone. right? Because why are you fighting me when we're fighting for the same thing? What are you doing?
You're going to start seeing all of these people, their entire power structure completely evaporate, because their power structure is actually maintained and enforced by capitalism. And it's not just by capitalism. I'm a big capitalism enjoyer.
You know, it's kind of like it's kind of like you've seen Dr. Stone with like Zeno and like Senku. It's like, okay, all of you like super paladin people that are like super like good like knight people, like you go play Senku, I will go play Zeno, right? Like let me play Zeno on my own. Don't fucking attack me.
Say it is by bad faith, unintelligent, uninformed capitalism that is being done by the lowest common denominator. And those are the people that you really should be looking at as your enemy. Those are your enemies, because those are the ones that are cutting the checks, that are forcing the ideologies, and they're doing it from the top down. And yes, they're being influenced by the bottom, but it's the top that is making this decision, and it's these people that are fundamentally pulling the levers of power and changing things institutionally and making it to where you don't have a voice. And the reason why I want to make this video is that I think that a lot of times people don't really understand that. They don't see how these things have manifested, and they don't understand, they can't construct and deconstruct how all of this has come together. I've been on the internet for 25 years. I've seen all of this happen myself. I'd be curious to hear what other people's comments are.
So like basically, I guess to kind of summarize here, attacking the individual people is kind of fun. Like, to be honest, I'm gonna be real. Like getting like the classic like 1v1 duel against like an enemy combatant is fun. It's very, very enjoyable, but it's not how you actually win, right? Like if you keep killing foot soldiers, killing metaphorically, right? Like I'm talking like ideologically, right? If you keep killing foot soldiers, it doesn't matter. You have to like be like a real American, and like you need to take out their commanders, right? And by take out, I mean like these companies, you have to like starve them of resources, right? You have to like cut off their supply lines. And that's kind of what I mean. You have to make it uncomfortable for the people that are giving them power.
In the in the comment section. But fundamentally, I think that we really do have to be more outspoken. I think that with video games, the last thing I want to talk about is that with video games, I think that we've done an incredibly great job.
Yeah, good job, gamers. Good
companies
job.
That are going back to McDonald's. They're going back to being Applebee's
Hell
servers.
Yeah.
And no shade to any of the people that do those jobs, but fundamentally, they're simply not much of a creative job as making a video game. And I really think that what you have to have happen is you have to have even more of these points on the graph.
I'll go a step further. The people working at Applebee's, if you in chat are working at Applebee's and these people go back to Applebee's, you should go take their jobs. That's what you should do. You should be the new Bungie. That should be you.
In order to have companies be able to see that there's a very clear line. And I think that's beginning to happen. If you look at, for example, a lot of the new video games, you see a lot less ideology that's being imposed into these video games. And I think that you're starting to see it with movies as well, especially whenever you have movie after movie that prioritizes identity politics, ideology, or some other form of message over actually appealing to their customers. And the best way that you can show people that that is a bad idea, there are two things. Number one, vote with your wallet. And number two, vote with your voice. Tell people the way that you feel, express yourself, and do it loudly. Because if you do it louder than other people, then people are going to listen to you instead. This isn't a world where you can just abstain. This isn't a world where you can just say, well, I'm just simply not going to do that because
this is such a good video. I totally agree with Asmongold here, because like the problem, and this is the problem with a lot of the people on the right, is that a lot of people on the right are really fucking retarded. Like, to be honest, they just refuse to even play the game at all. They're like, oh, but that is like against my principles to even engage in such uncouth behavior. Well, it's like, okay, you just lose then, I guess. Right? Like, it's so annoying.
If you don't do it, they'll do it to you. And that's my real, I want people to understand this. And I understand it might be a cynical pill to swallow. And I get that. I understand that. But I think that it's true. And if you don't think it's true, just wait and see, pay attention, listen, and just look around.
Voting and being active.
I think that you'll begin.
No, it's like engaging in culture, like considering like the culture to be like a thing to be fought over. They let Hollywood go like for free. They let video games go for free. These people, right? Leva says, why every time I hear about stuff happening in the US, I just keep being thankful I don't live there. Honestly, Leva, have you seen the World Cup though? Have you seen the World Cup? Because a lot of people are coming to the U.S. from the World Cup and being like, actually, America's fucking awesome, right? That's all you see in the news right now. is people from Europe like saying like, wow, it's so awesome over there in the United States. Not much. Yeah, because and the reason why, Leva, the reason why is because a lot of places internationally only get their news from places that hate the United States. And like if you look at social media, you'll see this. You'll see a lot of people saying like, whoa, wait, what the fuck? America's great, actually. Wait, what the fuck do you mean you have air conditioner everywhere? What? Right? Like I literally had my friend in Europe say, oh, I couldn't work much this week. And I was like, what do you mean you couldn't work this much this week? What the fuck do you mean? Right? Like, he's like, I couldn't even use my computer because it was so hot. And I was like, what? Like, that's crazy, right? And they love Costco too, yeah. And like, yeah, like the people are nice, like in America, right? They always show, you know, of course, inner cities are ass, like everybody knows that, right? But they only show a bad thing to people on the media.
To realize that that's really the path forward. So I wanted to explain and talk about that. I hope you guys all watched and enjoyed it. And I'm curious to hear what people's comments are in the comment section below. So thanks all for watching. I'll see you tomorrow. Peace.
Really good video by Asmongold. I really like that. And I hope you guys will take that to heart too, right? Like understanding that this is kind of a battle, and you know, saying that we're not going to engage in certain fronts of the... It's like basically saying that like, who cares about the water? I'm just going to not have a navy because who even cares? Like it's sort of similar to that. It's just weird. It's like you're giving up so much tactical advantage just because of your own, like, I don't know, your own idiocy, right? If you don't fight, you will lose, says freaking Moses. Yeah, 100%, right?
So put 'em in the box.